Well, Jim, let's move across the Atlas and let's go to Europe, where the WWE, as we said before, their endless tour of Europe. And this time they had SmackDown, and I know you watched it, and I'm sure I did. I just don't remember. Where were they, and
Well,
what was it?
for what going to Europe, when I was a teenager, one of my very early girlfriends used that as a synonym for throwing up. Oh, I got so sick and I went to Europe because of the noise. Yeah. And I'm not trying to insult our European fans. It just tickled me at the moment. But they were in Bologna, Italy. Bologna, Italy. And this time it was a big crowd, but it was a come down on Monday when they just got back in the primary English speaking world, because over in Scotland they've had a show or two, so they're not quite as just overall thrilled to be there. But Italy, they had the Italian flags, they were doing the fucking singing and the cheering and the chanting and the whole nine yards. What language do they speak over there in Italy?
Italian.
Oh, that's convenient. No, I asked you that the other day about Belgium. I said, what do they speak there? Belgiumish? And then people got mad. They're like, well, the United States isn't the only country in the world, but at least I know how to speak their language mostly. Anyway, the point is, Brian,
What is that point?
they're still over there. They're not coming back. Over there, say a prayer to beware, because the Yanks are coming. Will they not let our boys come back, Brian? You think they're getting tired of it by now? They're not doing the Will Ospreay grind gimmick where they fly back and forth in between TVs, right? They're fucking there. They've been there for a couple weeks. They're going to be there for more. They're going to London.
Yeah, they had something on the screen that had the upcoming schedule, and it was like, we're going to be here on Monday, and then we're going to be here Tuesday, and here Thursday. It was like all these different days, and one of them was a taping. So the rest were all just house shows, very, very lucrative house shows. But they don't work that schedule here. They go over there and they're working every single night.
Yes, suddenly they went from, this ain't bad, we go out on the weekends, whatever. Now they're in foreign countries every day for like fucking 4 weeks. But nevertheless, I don't know can you take that much clean underwear? Some of these people are going commando.
Or buying new underwear.
Well, you can't. No, the sizes are different over in the other countries, in the foreign lands. You don't know what you're getting. See, there might not be room for the boys. You'd sterilize yourself or something. Anyway, how much longer is this show? 3 hours? I'm talking about SmackDown now.
I wasn't sure, actually. I don't know, but I had the same thought.
It's not even that it's all talk and people think, oh, you mean interviews. It's that it's all talk. The interviews are fine with the stars. The matches, as we've joked, get in the way. But now it's talking about the talking that's coming up after this talking. And it's spots and it's commercials. And we're selling you this game and we're pitching you that product. And oh, by the way, here's aerial shots of everywhere we're going to be for the next 6 months at all these towns. It's a travel log. They ought to be on the Travel Channel. I mean, in Knoxville, to get a fucking aerial shot of Knoxville for the Night of Legends Open, I think we had to. Fox 43 didn't even have a news show at that point. We had to go to the Chamber of Commerce or some shit.
They don't even just show the building they're in. Sometimes they show. They've caught me a few times where they begin the show. I'm like, wow, look at that building. And they're like, Las Vegas. I'm like, oh shit, they're in Vegas? Yeah. We're going to be there in a month. I'm like, wait, why are they starting the show showing that? Then they go to the real building they're in.
And then look at the country we're going to be in next month. And here's a pyramid for you. and somebody's paying them to show it. Here, will you please show my pyramid on TV? Sure. And here's a pyramid. And there's $500,000. It's just, but it takes but then you've got to encounter the fucking entrances with the singing and the cheering and the chanting and the stalling and the milking. and the milking and the stalling, and the slowly I turned, step by step, inch by inch, I creeped up on the microphone.
You know,
And then
it's really crazy when you talk about some of the advertising, and Riyadh obviously was advertised on the mat, and I saw a commercial, and just the things they do in every country they go to, and even Tony with All In Texas. So much of wrestling right now is based around tourism. It's just based around local tourism.
boy, and they've made world tourists of the boys now. They can't. I bet somebody just wants to run Baton Rouge every once in a while. But anyway, on SmackDown, we'll get to the main part of it because they were doing a wonderful show for the people in Bologna, Italy, where they don't ever get to see these people in person. And they were so happy, and these people are having the time of their life. But I'm like, God damn, at some point, let them get to the fucking point. We know you can sing the songs. I don't know what some of the chants were because they were in Italian. And all the people over there know the tunes, Brian. It's from the soccer, I understand. They know the tunes, they know the keys of the chant, the singing, the chant singing, the sing chanting. How would you? Well, nevertheless, they had Orton and Owens do a promo. It was like a personal appearance in tights. Orton just has to go out. The fans are lit. He doesn't even have to speak. Owens comes out and gives the bullshit heel apology. I was wrong for attacking you. Cody deserved it. Sammy deserved it, but you didn't deserve it. So we should forgive each other and go for the tag team title at WrestleMania. So that Orton could say, well, I should kick your ass. So take your apology and shove it up your ass. And now you're just bitch Owens bitch instead of fight Owens fight. And he does a promo at Owens, and then the end. And people loved it. And then they had a tag team match with Priest and Jimmy Uso against Nakamura and Drew McIntyre. And Drew, again, is, I think, top 5 in the business right now. I just love everything he does. I didn't love this, but he was in it, and I love him. But the Priest and Jimmy won, and then Drew got on Priest and got some heat on him. People loved it. It's the standard stuff. The point I'm making is that they didn't have to do anything earth-shaking for this crowd, and they're getting paid a fee for the television, and it's done well enough that they can just fill the time up, and they're hot enough that the viewers aren't going to riot. So this is just a basic old show, right?
Not enough spikes. Too many excited fans. You got to tone that down.
You got to tell them that long-term boogie. Brown Strongman and Jacob Fatu, we saw that again. And they DQ'd him. There's tension now, and there's problems between Solo and Jacob. And I love that story. We'll see something there. And Tommy Tonga, poor thing, is caught in the middle. But Brown is not very good. And yeah. But we had Piper and Zelina. We had Liv. Did you watch it? I know you don't remember that the show actually aired, but Liv Morgan versus Jade Cargill.
Oh, I did watch this because I'm a big fan of Liv Morgan, and I'm intrigued by Jade to this day.
Well, I was intrigued as you were. Were you intrigued as to see, okay, what's she looking like these days? Has there been a noticeable improvement? And I don't know whether I can still tell because they set it up step by step, inch by inch. She can be led. She can be hidden. They set it up where she did basic stuff. Liv gravitated around Jade's orbit. And it wasn't until the end she made a simple comeback and did 2 nip-ups. I think the nip-up is her go-to thing, like Jacob Fatu, I'll just headbutt somebody if I don't have anything else to do. But she kinda got sidetracked. It appeared for a second and/or lost, but then Liv was selling and Naomi appeared and distracted Jade so that Liv could go for her finish, but Jade caught her and gave her a backbreaker, and then Naomi hit Jade with the belt, which of course the referee didn't see, and Liv hit her finish 1, 2, 3. And then they beat her up some more.
That's the first time Jade's been pinned in WWE.
Well, yes, and that's the thing is, I couldn't tell whether she's better or whether she's rusty or what. They did a good job of hiding it. But at the same time, I still don't know, because she still doesn't seem like she's comfortable in between doing the things that they have worked out when they worked out their floor routine. So we'll see.
I've become a really big Liv Morgan fan. She does all the little things I like for a wrestler to do. And I know she's smaller, so sometimes you completely
wait a minute.
her.
Now we could,
as a wrestler, will you stop it, Mr. Pervert?
We could clip that. She does all the little things I like.
Well,
no, she's grown on me too.
Yeah, she's really
attached
good.
herself to me.
She's really good. There was a thing the other day. Was it Raw? Where she was in the middle of a beat. Yeah, it was Raw. She was in the middle of a beatdown, and the music starts playing. Usually the heels nowadays stop what they're doing. They'll wait for the person to come and enter. She looked up for a second, and then she kept throwing her punches. Went right back to get more punches in.
Well, yeah, there's, I've got some room. And again, I'm not saying that I'm particularly, look at the artistry of her matches, but as a personality, as a character, as the kids say, as a gimmick, as what she's doing with it and how she's integrated with the story with her and Dominic and Rhea and the whole nine. Yeah, I like what's going. She's a personality. I will admit to that.
Is there an issue with the fact that even if you look past WWE, you look to AEW, whatever it is now, 4 years of Jade Cargill, maybe it's a little less, but you don't really see much improvement. Not that they're like, you don't see regression, but you don't see, doesn't seem like there's any growth.
Well, that's the thing I was looking for, in that I didn't expect any growth in AEW, because not only was there no place, yeah, she said, oh my God, the difference in training is insane, right? But now that she's been there a while, and I know she's been off, but what's she been doing? Is she working out to get back to that point? Is she training in developmental and secret in a dark room? Let's start seeming more natural in your environment than what you seem to feel like or seem like. But nevertheless, moving on, are the Street Profits again baby faces? Didn't they just switch heel? We don't really care. And I know people are going to say, well, if you'd watch, you'd know. Well, I don't care enough to watch, but I'm just confused now. I'll get over it, whether I find out or not. But didn't they just
How could you say you do reviews if you don't watch it? You're a hypocrite.
Because I'm not saying I'm doing a review of the Street Profits against the Lucha Heels. And Purely Deadly came out there too and did stuff. And they wonder why the tag team division is bleh. But the Street Profits are the new tag team champions, and according to the fans, you deserve it. But then finally we got to, okay, this is a 3-hour show, folks. That's what I'm saying. We got to the meat of the matter, the part that people were waiting for, because we wanted to find out what was going on with Roman Reigns and CM Punk and our friend Seth Franklin Rollins. And the tease was, at first they go to the back, the parking lot or the dock or whatever, and a black limousine pulls up, and it's like a black soccer van limousine, I guess they've got over there, that the door doesn't open like a SUV that it's a slide open like the side of a van, right? You know what I'm talking about, Brian.
Yeah.
So when the door slides open, you see a couple of hands reach out and grab the frame to pull themselves out. And suddenly out emerges Paul Heyman in a black suit. So it looked like a minivan giving birth to a bowling ball. And he struggled out of the thing and then straightened himself as best he could. And he's walking in. That's the tease for the main event. Did you see that scene? Am I lying with what I'm saying?
I saw that scene. I saw the scene. Yes, it was one of Heyman's greatest roles.
Yes,
playing the bowling ball.
Bowling ball. And he cleaned the placenta off himself from his mother minivan. So they go to the segment here. There comes Roman and Paul out to the ring, and there's the OTC chants and some Italian chants and more OTC. And, and Roman, he's starting out as a benevolent tribal chief. He said, your OTC loves you. So I'm going to tell you what's on my mind. And his promo is he believes he's in the right. At the Royal Rumble, CM Punk screwed me. So last week I screwed CM Punk. And at the Royal Rumble, Seth Rollins tried to kill me. So I tried to kill Seth Rollins. And I'm going to be here for the next 15 or 20 minutes. If anybody wants to come out here and confront me, just let me know. And son of a bitch, wouldn't you know who won the pony? Immediately, Seth Rollins they are so over, and this is working with all these people. They don't even have to try. Here's what I did, and here's why I did it. And if anybody has a problem with me, come on out here. Okay, here we go. And Seth comes out, and the whole building is singing at the top of their lungs. Whoa! Well, I see, and they can't all sing like me, so you can imagine what theirs sounds like. And Seth gets in the ring, and there's more singing. Whoa! And Seth,
I apologize for the audio, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, now that I've got mine fixed up, you ought to get Hotchkiss. Get him a plane ticket. He'll fly up there and fix yours too. So Seth says, Roman, you messed up here. You should have let me finish CM Punk. You should have let me get rid of him once and for all. But it's always been about you and me, says Seth and Roman, that is, the pronouns pal. And it's time that we added another chapter. And suddenly, like Mussolini in Italy, there he comes. They're singing his song.
Did you do a record scratch?
Yes. And here comes Punk, and now they're chanting CM Punk, CM Punk. I wish they'd have got Howie the mailroom guy on TV back in the day so we could see if we get a Howie the mailroom guy, Howie the mailroom guy. But no, he's over and he gets in the ring. And he tells both of them, neither one of you have ever beaten me by yourself without the other one helping you. And I didn't screw Roman Reigns. I didn't screw you, but he reminds everybody that Paul Heyman owes him a favor. And then he says, but Paul, I want to thank you for delivering the tribal chief on a silver platter. And right as Roman looks around at Paul like, you did what? Punk jumps off the turnbuckles and nails Roman with the microphone from behind and gets on him. And then Seth is confused for a second, like, blah, 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 blah. And then he jumps on Punk. And he gets on Punk. And then Roman says, wait a god dang darn minute. And he grabs somebody, and then my DVR froze. But I understand from reading about it that for the next 15 seconds or so, they all just gotten an altercation with each other. And that's obviously headed toward WrestleMania. But that was 3 hours of SmackDown. I mean, at least AEW is impaling people for us and giving us fucking little Easter eggs of find the production error and see where the fake wall is, shit like that. But SmackDown's just giving us a travel log on fucking, where's next? Tucumcari, New Mexico?
You know, it's interesting too with the Rollins, Punk, Roman stuff. All three guys have legitimate stories with the other ones. Rollins and Roman, of course, goes way back, but they all came in to help Punk. So that ties into it. Doing it as a three-way, is that to you better than over time doing each one of the three independently?
Well, they're going to, or they should, do each of those anyway. But for WrestleMania, and because everybody expects it now, and it's got to be something extra, and you got to, you know, I think that's why they're doing a three-way, but you can't tell me that Punk versus Roman or Roman versus Seth, or it is not a pay-per-view match at some point or another that they need to do. Well, they don't need to do anything, but boy, howdy, in any other era, if you had a match that attractive, you would do everything you could to do it. So I think they got to do them eventually, but WrestleMania is upon us, so they're dropping the cow, as Dan Aykroyd would say.
All right, well, on the topic of, that was SmackDown, by the way, but...
Yeah, it was.
On the topic of Dan Aykroyd, I'm trying to think of something that would tie into fucking Dan Aykroyd. Of course, he was the child of the Miss Daisy character in Driving Miss Daisy. And perhaps, if you were trying to find a transition, but you didn't have your sponsor sheet open, you were looking to drive on over. This may not be a great example. But, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm trying to say is here as we close out another SmackDown on foreign waters, there's a lot of stress. You know, these guys are working a full-time tour. Perhaps,
just overworked.
Perhaps you want to come home after this tour and sit down with your family, or maybe by yourself. Maybe leave the kids away from this. Have a nice glass of wine. Jim, help me out because this is my show.
For God's sake. Well, I'll tell you, you've made me want to have a drink. No, you know, there's some people out there, Brian. Perhaps you're amongst them. You may not know for sure, but they're still shopping for wine like it's 1999. Back in the old days when you had to go to the liquor store and you had to deal with all of the bums and the winos that permeated that atmosphere. You had to walk into an uncertain neighborhood, sometimes after dark, to come out with your bottle of rosé. Now all of those people that used to be winos are employed because they don't have to spend all of their money on the wine because it's so cheap. From our friends over at nakedwines.com. See how it works hand in hand? Before they were spending all their money in a bad neighborhood, and now they're successful entrepreneurs because the people at Naked Wines have cut out the middleman. And now you can go direct, folks, to over 90 independent winemakers around the world. And the people at Naked Wines have been around for over 15 years. They've got all these connections where you can crack open a bottle of wine. Well, don't crack it open. That's violent. They are glass bottles, but you can open up a fine bottle of wine.
In a classy way.
In a classy way. With your teeth, the way God intended it. Just like Granny Cornette used to do it. And the best part about it is you can sit in your own home after it's delivered to your own home and drink it in your own home while you're naked. That's why they call it Naked Wines. Because before, back in the old days, when you would go into the liquor store and you wouldn't have any clothes on, you wouldn't even hardly get to the checkout counter with your bottle of wine or three before somebody was harassing you, said, hey, put that thing away. And even when you put the wine back, they would say, hey, put that thing away.
No.
It would happen every time you went in to buy a bottle of wine if you wanted the Naked Wines.
Again, let's not talk about whatever was happening over there in Louisville, Kentucky, back in the day. Let's talk about Mr. and Mrs. America wanting a nice glass of wine, an amazing glass of wine. And you can get it from Naked Wines. Nudity need not be applied. Just be ready to enjoy fine wine from fine people and delivery people with their clothes on. Tell them more, Jim, in that vein.
Well, you've taken all the fun out of it if everybody's got their clothes on. But let's say, folks, for example, you and your significant other, you got split tastes. You like the white wine, she likes the red wine, vice versa. You can split a box. That way everybody's half and half. So you can, with your wife, you can have half and half, or you get a whole box to go around the world. And you can cancel or pause at any time. So if you're not going to be, let's say you're going to be out of town until the heat's off on something, probation violation, whatever goes on, you don't want your wine sitting on the porch. You can pause it. And then whenever they catch you and extradite you and you're back in town, boom, they'll deliver it again.
What? No.
Or if you're on vacation for some unknown reason, you can pause it and then boom, you can get sloshed after you get back home from your vacation.
Let's talk about responsible people and responsible drinking. And of course, whatever.
Well, what's the fun in that?
Whatever the situation, whatever the occasion, you want your wine, the wine that you enjoy, and Naked Wines is here to facilitate that in a classy, professional manner.
That's exactly right. So now is the time to join the Naked Wines community. It's down there in Florida, so the weather's usually good and people don't have to wear clothes. It's clothing optional or closing optional. The Naked Wines community, you can join, you can be a satellite participant, and you can just go to nakedwines.com/JCE and click enter voucher and put in the code JCE for both the code and the password. But listen to this. Sounds like a lot of work, but it's not. We're going to tell it to you again. But you're going to get 6 bottles of wine for $39.99 and free shipping. $39.99. The shipping's included. The whole, that's 6 bottles. Under $7 a piece. For heaven's sake, you can't even get some Boone's Farm for that price anymore. What with the inflationary cost of cheap hooch these days. nakedwines.com/JCE. Click enter voucher and put JCE in for the code and the password. 6 bottles of wine, $39.99, shipping included. Boy, I'll tell you what, if you can't get laid with 6 bottles of wine, well, I don't know what to tell you.
Let's not make it about that. Let's make it about enjoying an evening with friends in a classy, responsible manner with fine wine.
Some of your friends may put out. It just depends on how much of the wine you can
use your imagination the old-fashioned way with Naked Wines. They deliver the wines, and they're great. Check them out, friends of ours. Please check them out. nakedwines.com/JCE. Of course, JCE for the password and the code. Once you get there,
I guess you got to use your imagination.
I understand pretty soon they have the Dixie at the Hotel package coming up. We'll have more about that in the...
Does that include a 7-foot giant to sit on your lap?
Well, more about that once again, nakedwines.com/JCE.